Assalamu alaikum students, welcome again to Cambrian virtual classroom. Today we will go through another English first paper lesson from English for today. First let me introduce myself. I am SM Saifullah, Department of English lecturer, Cambrian College, Chattogram. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into the lesson. What do you see in the picture? What can we see here? Apparently, someone is riding a tiger and he has a snake in his hand. Can you guess? I think you are right. We are going to discuss about Gazi Pir. The lesson at hand, the unit at hand is Unit 14 named Myths and Literature. And the lesson number is lesson 3, the Legend of Gazi. What is the learning outcome of today? What we will learn after the end of the lesson? At the end of the lesson, students will be able to speak about Gazi Pir and can explain what folk art is. Okay, let's get to the lesson. According to some myths and legends, Gazi Pir was a Muslim saint. So, the first thing is, what is a myth? They are saying according to some myths and legends. What is a myth and what is a legend? Okay? A myth is a traditional story, especially one concerning the early history of a people or explaining a natural or social phenomenon and typically involving supernatural being and events. Okay, so what is myths? The word myth comes from the Greek word mythos. Mythos means story. When science and technology wasn't that much advanced in earlier times, people don't have any explanation for normal natural phenomenon. So, to explain things, people often come up with stories of different gods and goddesses. And those stories, those collection of stories are in fact discussed in mythology. Okay, so mythic characters are not real characters; they are they are some imaginary characters. So here they are trying to say there are some traditional story, especially one concerning early history of a people, explaining. They are trying to actually explain natural phenomenon, social phenomenon. Okay, you know. There are different types of mythologies in different parts of the world. We will see to that in a bit. And what is legend? What a traditional story, it is also a story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical. They are regarded as historical stories, but not authenticated. They are not proven. There is no proof that these historical events have in fact occurred. Okay, so there is a difference between legend and myths. Myths are completely imaginary things, trying to explain some natural phenomenon. Suppose why the lightning happens. So the Greek people came up with the idea that the god Zeus is responsible for lightning. Okay, they have gods and goddesses for every social natural phenomenon. Okay, and legend is different from myths. Legends can be true, can be false. There is a doubt, but there is no doubt that myths are all imaginary stories. Okay. Now we will see some mythic character. You know Poseidon. Poseidon is a Greek god, god from Greek mythology, and he is a god of seas. Okay. You all know Thor. You saw his movie, watched his movie, and Thor is a Norse god. He is actually a mythic character. Okay, and at last we have some Indian mythic character. He is called Vishnu. You all know about Mahabharata and Ramayana. These are Indian mythology. Okay, so let's get back to our text. Our text is saying that some myth and legend tell us about whom? Tell us about Gazi Pir, who was a Muslim saint. Muslim saint. Saint means Pir. Muslim saint who is said to be have spread Islam, who preached Islam in the parts of Bengal close to Sundarbans. You know Sundarbans, the largest mangrove forest of the world. In Khulna, close to Sundarbans, he spread Islam, as we know. He was credited with many miracles. What is a miracle? You know, miracle is something that cannot be explained by scientific data, by science, but we believe them to be happened due to some spiritual intervention, heavenly intervention. God inspired those to happen. You know all the story of Musa alayhi salam. He was supposed to part a sea to go through the sea, and here we can see an illustration of that may be happening. Okay, the miracles of Moses. So miracles are something that cannot be explained by science, that is not rational. For example, which miracles he is credited with, Gazi Pir? For example, he could supposedly calm, he could make obedient dangerous animals and make them docile. Docile means to make someone calm. For example, here we can see someone is trying to play with a tiger. It is not advisable, it is not common. He actually made the tiger docile to him. Docile means obedient, submissive, meek. Okay. He is usually depicted in parts or scroll paintings. Who is Gazi Pir? Gazi Pir is usually depicted. Depict means to describe someone. Depicted in parts or scroll. Part is a Bangla word and the English version of the word is scroll. You know all scroll, this thing is called scroll, usually a leather parchment that can roll into a cylinder type object. So these are called scroll. And what is scroll painting? When some painting is done in this type of long scrolls. See, this is a scroll painting. You see the whole canvas can be rolled into a scroll. So in this type of scroll paintings are called path in Bangla, and there are different scroll paintings about Gazi Pir. He is usually depicted in parts or scroll paintings riding a fierce looking Bengal tiger. Fierce looking means something that is very cruel. There they are talking about this picture. He is riding a fierce looking tiger, a snake in his hand. We can see a snake in his hand, but in no apparent danger. He is apparently not in any kind of danger. He is actually enjoying himself. You see? Okay. According to some stories, the story means the legends, he also fought crocodiles. He fought crocodiles who threatened the people of a region full of canals and creeks. These crocodiles were threatening some people, the people, they lived in a region, lived in an area where there were many canals and many creeks. Creek, you know, canal, a kind of a narrow water body, and creek is a smaller canal actually. You can see this is called a creek, and these creek and canals were full of crocodiles, and the people of that region couldn't live their life normally because of the fear of crocodiles. And the area was indeed a kind of watery jungle. The whole area was a jungle. There were many water bodies bordering the Bay of Bengal, and the region was at the border of Bay of Bengal. Okay. Because of his alert and vigilant presence. What is alert and vigilant? They are meaning almost the same thing. To be alert means to be aware, to be watchful, to be attentive, to be observant something. Okay. Gazipir was very alert about the safety of the people of that region. Because of his alert and vigilant presence, all predatory animals means hunting animals, the animals that live by hunting there for food. All predatory animals were said to have been kept within bounds. They were not allowed, the animals were not allowed to go beyond the boundaries of Sundarban. That's why the people of that area can live in a safe environment. It was also believed that he enabled villagers to live close to forests and jungles and cultivate their lands. People believe that by the legend, as the legend goes, Gazipir allows the people of that region to live very close to the Sundarbans, and they actually could cultivate their lands adjoining to the forest. Consequently, as a result, people of these regions would pray to him for protection. They go for him for protection to save them from the predatory animals of Sundarbans. The story of Gazipir has been preserved in folk literature as well as art. What is folk literature? Folk means people. Literature of the people, general people. Okay? As well as art, in different forms of art like scroll painting, and has been performed in indigenous theatre. What is indigenous theatre? Indigenous means native. Okay? That is native, local. Okay? Theatre means theatre is a performing art, and in Bangladesh the indigenous theatre means about Jatrapala. We'll see. What is folk literature? First see. Folk literature includes all the myths, legends, epics, fables and folk tales passed down word of mouth through the generations. These literary works actually isn't written in any written form. They pass down people through generations through oral telling. Okay, and these includes myths. We already know about myths and legends. Okay, the authors of traditional literature are usually unknown. We don't know who is actually the writer or composer of a particular myth or particular story, or unidentifiable. We either not know or we cannot identify. We may know the name, but we cannot trace back to him. So, indigenous theatre, Jatra, indigenous theatre of Bangladesh. This is a theatre, a play is being performed in an open space, and this kind of performance is actually indigenous to Indian subcontinent, specifically Bangladesh and India. Indigenous means native, local, aboriginal. In fact, some Gazirpat scrolls are part of the collection of the British Museum. You know British Museum? British Museum is the National Museum of Britain, and as we spoke earlier, there were many Gazirpat scroll paintings, and some of the scroll paintings are in fact in collection of British Museum. Okay, I hope you get the lesson. Now we will have some homework for you. You can take a screenshot of the text. Based on your reading of the passage, make short notes in each of the boxes in the flowchart showing speciality of Gazi Pir. You know about flowchart. You can take a screenshot and do your homework. Okay, and the second work is another flowchart. Read the above text and make a flowchart showing specialties of Gazi Pir. Almost the same thing, but they started in different ways. You see, started in somewhat different ways. I hope you can find them easy and complete your homework accordingly. Okay, that's it for today. We will meet in another class soon. Until then, Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.